Welcome to your Half Moon Check-In, where I use Lenormand cards to give some additional advice around the 3 life themes that popped up in last week's New Moon Tarot readings. Lenormand is great for what to do in your everyday to achieve your grandest vision for this one life. Pick your Half Moon Check-In reading now. Hello Reading 1 and welcome to your Half Moon Check-In. This check-in is bang smack in the middle of Eclipse season. So what do you think happened last week when I went to post the tarot reading on the new moon eclipse itself? The sound was shite, and I couldn't save it. I was in deep despair, but I decided to trust the eclipse. It was telling me to take a week off, take a step back, reflect. But I'm taking that all in stride to bring you a new and improved and more fun Lenormand reading than you've ever had before. Because today I'm going to show you how the Lenormand and the tarot can work together in one reading to give you the richest experience and the most information that's the most useful possible. So normally on the moons, what I do is I give you a tarot reading in nature so we can all enjoy that healing environment together. And then the subjects that come out of those tarot readings, I then take into these Lenormand readings to get us more gritty detail. But today, I'm going to show you how when I give readings for people, I actually love combining the Lenormand and the tarot. So today, we're going to start with the Lenormand reading. The Lenormand reading is going to give us the subject. And then I'm going to lay tarot cards over it and give you even more in-depth information about some of the swirling emotions that might be contributing to the situation, making it harder or easier. So the question we're answering today for you, Reading 1, is: how can you master your finances to achieve a long-term goal? So in a 9-card square for the Lenormand, the first card you look at is the U card. And in this case, you came out as the snake. The snake is not the easiest card. This represents your energy. So I can tell that you're coming at this financial picture with tension. You feel that it's tricky, or there's a very tricky situation that you need to manage. The next most important card is the central card, which in this case is the letter. The letter is a very neutral card in Lenormand. It's not considered negative or positive, and it really depends on the situation around it. It's providing more context. Here, the letter is simple. You've received some news. I'm guessing because the spread is about finances, some kind of financial news. Next, we look to the main themes of the Lenormand reading, which is the 2 diagonals. Now, ultimately, we're going to have 9 cards put out here, but I've laid out just the diagonals to make it as clear as possible for you to follow along. So we start with diagonal 1. We have snake plus letter plus fox. The fox gives us the tricky factor. Now, I'm looking ahead to see this home card. And this home card said to me that you're looking to actually get the kind of money, produce or manage the kind of money you need for one of the big ticket long-term goals that many of us have with our financial life. This could be about purchasing a home, but otherwise it could be about any large financial investment that you would like to make in a tangible thing with your long-term earned money. So putting the first diagonal together, we can say that you might have received some complicated news about managing a long-term investment. Now, sometimes the Lenormand, each line builds upon the other and you get more information. But in this case, it's being very clear and it's just giving me the exact same information in Diagonal 2. Diagonal 2, which also speaks to the theme, says house plus letter plus clouds. So clouds is generally disappointing. So there is some disappointing news from something close to home. It could be home-related documents like a mortgage or a rental lease. But it could also, if this isn't about a long-term ticket item, this could also be about a long-term goal, perhaps in a work situation, in which case this would be disappointing news from your work department. So now in this reading, we proceed to the time series in Lenormand, which is the columns. We have the past, we have now, and we have soon. Heading to the past, I'm going to add in the rider. So let's look at how the past gives us information about your question. And your question was, how can you master your finances to achieve a long-term goal? So in column 1, we have snake plus rider plus clouds. Snake and clouds, not the easiest of cards here. Snake speaks to patience, cloud speaks to confusion. But when we put all of this together, rider is speaking to me of a breakout. I would say it's going to take patience to break out of any bad habits that might have haunted you around managing your finances. It also includes breaking out of limiting beliefs and potentially actual limitations. Now let's move to the present. Here we add in some happier cards. We have tree and we have fish, which is the actual money card. And we have documentation in the middle here. Here's where this news that's come in is coming into the story. We have news providing opportunity for positive growth, likely financial documents, so potentially a tax return, something about loans and mortgages, something about a long-term investment, something about growing your money over the long term so that you can achieve the goals that you're looking for. Finally, the third column will give us more information about what's the potential outcome here and what's the best advice. So for column 3, I'm going to add in the bear. And again, good news. So even though the past is speaking to some difficulty and potentially some habits that didn't help you, it looks like going into the future, you're going to move from confusion into some solutions. Now, house plus bear. Bear always speaks to leadership and authority. Big, even just the adjective of big. And because you combine it with home, home is something personal. If we're being really concrete, it could be parents or an inheritance. Maybe for some of you, you're receiving an inheritance that you need to manage. And this is some long-term money that's really the bulk of the money for you going forward in your life. So it's very important to manage. For some of you, it might be on your mind to create a legacy that you're passing on to family. So for those of you where family money is potentially playing a role, the answer to the question, how can you master your finances to achieve a long-term goal, is that this is tricky. You need to be clever. It needs to be cleverly handled. We know that the world is very temperamental right now with markets and with investing. So that tells me, because snake's in the picture, that requires patience. None of the cards here are fast moving. This is about slowly building it. So if you've got choices ahead of you, especially if you've received some kind of documentation which is leading you to have to make decisions, I want you to take this very slowly. I want you to get clever advice. So that's for those of you who are managing money that has come through to you through a channel that isn't your work. Now for others, this could be, how can you master your finances to achieve a long-term goal? You need to level up. This could be about becoming management yourself, and so that you level up your capacity to earn. Now, I know that's a simple answer, and we're going to delve into more of the complexities of that with the tarot cards that come. But just simply and concretely, to sum up this Lenormand spread with very down-to-earth advice. You've come from some financial confusion potentially. Maybe you're new at investing. You're not sure how to take what you have, what you can earn now, or what you have received now from family or may receive in the future, and you want to manage it well given the current global environment, but you don't know how to do that. And these cards are definitely telling you to take it slowly. The tree plus all of this is a slow growth with clever solutions. You need to seek information outside. You need to be open to learning. For some of you, the potential is you're going to grow your ability to earn. So let's move on to the tarot. And I'm going to layer the cards over the top. Now in this case, by layering tarot over the top, how I treat the cards, it isn't so much that each position has a meaning for these tarot cards, say the way it would in a Celtic cross reading, where every position has a very specific definition for what it speaks to. In this case, The tarot is free-flowing and moving, but I'm actually still laying it over in the same structure as the Lenormand. So I'm letting the Lenormand structure dictate how these cards flow. But in this case, the tarot is going to speak more to the emotional complexity of what you have going on. So we know you have, on the surface, a straightforward but tricky task. Manage long-term money well. I am going to read the tarot cards with the time series. So these cards are really looking at the past. These are more about now, and these are more about near future. What's fun about this is even though there's lots of people in these cards, really I'm looking at this as you and your relationship to financial mastery, and how do you feel about that? Now this card that represents you in this position, your energy, this tells me you're ready. I think the idea of financial mastery really appeals to you. And I don't think it's out of scarcity. I think it's incredibly courageous of you because even though you live in this moment in this time where markets and the global world is getting kind of uncertain, I don't think that bothers you. I think you know that it's still important for you to have these skills for your long-term life. This is the Two of Cups. It's a card about being seen, ready to be seen. You are ready to see yourself as able to master your finances. But that doesn't mean there aren't going to be some hiccups along the way, because you have to remember that you're learning and that this is a long-term process that you need to take step by step. So I also see, echoing the Cloud card here, you have the Three of Swords, which is a card of disappointment. You've had some financial struggles. You've had some disappointments in this arena. And because both of these cards in tarot have a relationship component, in this case, Three of Swords, there's a heart as a pincushion. There's also a portrait of a couple in the back when she was younger. And here you have her older, and you still have a couple in the front. I think this mainly speaks to those bad habits that the Lenormand was talking about. You haven't had the best financial habits in the past, and that's not necessarily me calling you out. You could have had some circumstances that led to this. This kind of tells me that you probably weren't taught about finances, that it wasn't spoken about in your family, or that potentially finances in your family in your growing up were chaotic. But it looks also to me with this Temperance card, which is a healing card, and you have this woman here with the perfect mix, that you yourself over time have been heading towards healthier habits. It's just you are hitting a critical moment where you really need to level up your skills and your knowledge. Moving on to the Now column. What's really interesting when I combine these with the Lenormand cards, this person is getting a windfall. Now this is the Five of Cups, which is a card of scarcity in the tarot deck. But in this particular deck, it has a different energy about it because this woman is gambling and she's winning right now. But there are people just outside the window who aren't, who are in scarcity again, who've lost things. This could go either way here. So in some ways, I potentially was getting information about you receiving a windfall of some kind that you need to manage well, potentially from an inheritance from family. It could also be that you're getting a raise, because here it was talking about how you needed to potentially level up your earning capacity. Perhaps that's in sights for you. But there's something funny here. You're not trusting that this money is going to stay with you. And that's really what this reading is about. It's about learning to manage money well. It's also about learning to put scarcity habits behind you. Does money pour through your fingers? Have you had that experience that you get money, it pours through your fingers, and then you're trying to make ends meet any way you can? So emotionally, the tarot is saying, if you want to manage money well, it's giving you a couple of concrete things, but I'm going to start with the emotional component. And the emotional component is that you need to get out of scarcity mindset. You need to find ways to trust yourself, being able to hold on to money. And of course, the ways to do that, there are books, there are podcasts, there are coaches, there are therapists. You need to free up some money and some abundance and some resources to invest in your own education and emotional intelligence around holding money. This isn't the simplest thing, but there are a lot of resources these days, even free resources out on the internet, to start interrogating and leveling up your relationship to holding money. So that's the emotional advice. But I would also say that here we have the Hierophant. And underneath this, we have the Letter. Here we have an expert diagnosing some of the problems. So I see that twofold. I don't want you to only get an emotional coach and therapist. I also want you to get somebody with financial know-how. So in some ways, it looks like I'm offering you some very obvious concrete advice. You either have or are about to receive a large chunk of money, either through inheritance, passive means, or through your own earning power at work. You want to manage it well. Well, it seems obvious to go get some help with both your emotional well-being around handling money, as well as your just straight financial knowledge about how to handle money the best we can in today's uncertain world. So then you can ask yourself, well, that's just some basic common sense advice. How is this telling me anything now? Well, you're watching this now. So this is the go-ahead to actually pursue that. If you're worried about not having enough finances to free up to pay for some of this education, it's telling you do it. Consider it overhead out of whatever future earnings, whatever future money you're receiving. If you go into it with this 5 of Coins mentality, you are going to manifest that. If you go into it with fear, you're going to manifest that. And I really want to give you this warning strongly because in the final column, in the future column, I'm seeing the final outcome card be the 7 of Swords. I'm going to say 2 things about this. The 7 of Swords is someone trying to move forward while they're looking back. That is a classic theme in most of the imagery around this card. In this particular deck, it has a thief who's running away with the goods. Now, both of these cards tell me that you don't feel worthy of this money. And that is not okay. You are ready to see yourself as a much more abundant person, a person who has skills and the ability to make money and hold on to money. But unfortunately, it's going to take baby steps, which is why I'm really telling you to go get some professionals and some education so you can build your confidence over time. I'm also feeling potentially here. So under here in the Lenormand, we had a long-term goal like purchasing a home, the Bear card, which is about being upper management or also just managing a very large long-term investment. And this is also the King of Coins. So this is echoing this theme on top of the Lenormand, which I find super magical that the cards speak to each other like that. But this is also paired with the 7 of Cups, which can be the delusion card. So I think you might move too fast and outpace your wisdom and your ability to manage money if this windfall comes soon and you don't get the help that you need. Because these cards are telling me you might stay in a lack mindset. You might feel like part of you feels unconsciously you're getting away with something. If someone hands you a chunk of money or hands you a higher management position, you don't believe in yourself enough here. That's one. The other one is you might think, oh, it's super simple. I just need to do this with this money and it'll work out. And I'm telling you, you have the fox under here and look at this doubled. Look at that with the cards. Fox, fox. That gives me a thrill. This is telling me that this situation is tricky. And it's not that you're dumb. It's that it's tricky and you don't have the skills yet. So to sum up, please get the education you need. Please take it slow. Please don't think it's super simple. And also please understand that you deserve this money and you deserve to hang on to it long term. But in this current environment, that's going to be tricky. You need top level people and top level answers to make that a thing. The other side of the 7 of Swords is that you make do with what you have. So I don't feel like you're going back here, like you're going to lose it all, but you might not make the most of it if you don't take your time, level up your skills, level up your belief in yourself. I want to wish you luck in this endeavor. I want you to say eclipse time, which is happening now and for a couple of more weeks, is the perfect time to go through just reflecting, gathering information, revisiting decisions. Now is exactly the time not to speedily move forward, particularly not until Mercury retrograde goes direct, March 20th, 2026. Make the time now. It's perfect. And I'll see you in next week's reading for the full moon eclipse. Hello Reading 2 and welcome to your half moon check-in. This is where I've been using Lenormand cards to give you very practical advice on topics that came up from the tarot readings at the fuller new moon. But given that this is smack dab in the middle of eclipse season and Mercury's slowing down and going retrograde February 25th, it's no surprise to me that the tarot readings that I filmed for last week's new moon, exactly on eclipse day, did not work out. Girl versus wind, wind won. Just like nasty surprises in eclipse season does, it made me pause, reflect, and come up with something even more creative for you this week. So this week, instead of diving deeper into the topics that surfaced through the tarot at last new moon, this week I drew Lenormand cards in order to get the topic, and we're going to go deeper with the tarot cards. And I'm going to show you how when I read for people, I do this a lot, I mix tarot cards and Lenormand cards together to get a very deep dive and accurate look into someone's situation. It gives you practical advice, and then it allows me to go deeper into the emotional details around what might be helping you or what might be hindering you. For these readings, I do a 9-card Lenormand spread, and when I put all the cards together and looked at this, again, this spread is speaking about a job. Interestingly, all 3 spreads this week are looking at job, career, and money. After looking at all the cards together, the specific question for reading 2 is, what can you focus on to manifest a new job or creative direction because you have to move on from the last? So in the 9-card Lenormand square, we start with the U card. And in this case, you got a very positive card. You got the Clover card. The Clover is luck. In the Lenormand deck, the bouquet is also luck, but it's big luck. Clover is small luck. That doesn't mean that it's not potent. What it means is look for synchronicities, signs from the universe that you're moving in the right direction. Now, what's interesting is Clover in the first position means that yes, you will find that new creative direction. You will find that new job that you need, but it may happen differently than you think. Now, for a general feeling of the outcome of Lenormand, we look to the central card. Very important. You got a tricky card here, and we're going to be talking more about that in the spread. This is the Snake card. This tells me that you need to wait for the right time. Next, in the 9-card Lenormand square, we look at the diagonals, which brings us the themes of the reading. And they generally confirm each other. They may add more detail, they may not. In this case, diagonal 1 has Clover plus Snake plus You. And here it's come out as the Woman card. Lenormand deck is from the 1800s, and it is rather gendered in most decks. I don't use it as a gender. But in this case, I chose this as the U card. There's also another card in the deck that represented significant others. It didn't come out in your spread. But the final outcome card of this 9-card square is You. And that tells me that a lot depends on you, what you do, what you think, what you say. It's in your power to change this situation, even though it's tricky. So putting it all together, Clover plus Snake plus You, wisdom and understanding plus the right timing will make you powerful. An alternate interpretation of snake plus a person is that they are powerful. And I feel that for you here, even though you're in a rather tricky, rather toxic environment right now. Looking to the second diagonal, which also speaks to the theme, we have Scythe plus Snake plus Mouse. Again, tricky, tricky, tricky. This is an entirely negative line. For some of you, this is a backbiting person that you're dealing with in your environment for your job, for your creative project. The other great thing about Lenormand is it gives us a time series, with column 1 being the past, this column being now, and this column being soon, which helps us understand the outcome. So let's look at the past. You have Clover. I'm going to add in Heart and Mouse. These are 2 good cards. The mouse leaks things away. This tells me that this job was once upon a time some luck for you and you loved it, and it turned sour, unfortunately. And this has given you some disillusionment and a lack of trust of potentially one person who's in this situation or the team that you're working in. But it's also kind of tainting trusting yourself moving forward. And that is the biggest problem. But already your heart recognizes that you need to move on from this situation and that someone in this situation is not good for you. Moving on to the now column, we're going to add in the Mountain card and the Clouds card. Again, unfortunately, not the easiest cards. Mountain is a block. Snake is tricky. Clouds is confusion. Clouds can also be depression. The snake in the middle says diplomacy. You need to be tactful in this situation. So you are tricky. So even though there is someone that I don't trust around you, and even here, Mountain plus Snake says, not everything meets the eye, not everything is clear and out in front. You may not even be 100% aware about how backbiting this person is, but going into the future column, we're going to talk about how you really need to canvass trusted people around this situation to find out what they're really saying about you. The spread, though, keeps saying that you need to wait for the right time. Clover plus Snake. Luck at the right time that you yourself are going to make happen. So unfortunately, you can't just walk out the door. And because I'm seeing you here at the outcome, it's telling me that we're not quite sure how you're going to break out of this yet because you don't have all the information you need, which again, very shadowy like eclipse season, very confusing like Mercury retrograde season. So let's look at the future. What is some good advice for you in this situation? And here we add in birds. Birds is all about communication, yours and with other people. So in column 3, we have Scythe plus birds plus you. Not only is this a conversation and you networking with trusted people, either in the situation or people just adjacent to the situation who can understand about it and or help you, I almost feel like you yourself need to raise an alarm call about a potential person that is not good for you, that is gossiping about you potentially, that is spreading bad energy about you and or making you feel bad in this situation. And you're kind of confused about that still. I'm not sure it's been totally revealed to you the effect of this person on your job and or whatever passion project, creative project you're trying to move forward. This really speaks of an environment where you're being taken advantage of at a job and or in whatever project that you're trying to move forward. And it's a project you deeply care about, heart. I also think that this person that I don't trust around you, you've felt quite close to at one point. So there are some cards here that point to a relationship being important. And that's why I keep highlighting it. So this could be with a group, but I really think there is one toxic person who is really making this difficult for you. That could be a bad manager. That could be that the work environment itself is toxic, like the actions that you do are repetitive and draining and you need to get away from it. But definitely there is a toxic person around you. So, birds. Either you need to make an alarm call about this person to other people who are involved so that they can recognize it too and perhaps do something about it, or you need to speak to people and say, hey, I'm feeling confused, but can you tell me how you see my relationship with this person in this work environment, in this project, in this collaboration? Do you think they treat me well? Have you heard things that they're saying about me? What do you think their opinion of me is? Get good advice from trusted people. All right, now we're going to layer on the tarot. So, you have a difficult situation with one or more people in a job, in a workplace that you need to leave, and or in a passion project or collaboration or creative project that you're really trying to move forward, but there are problems and you're feeling confused about it. And this is where I find it fascinating because some of the tarot cards will directly mirror the Lenormand cards underneath. You are coming out as the priestess. And this is the only major arcana card in this entire 9 cards. Major arcana cards hold a lot of weight in a tarot spread. They're about big life lessons. You are the priestess and you're not honoring that. So the fact that you're confused doesn't make sense because a priestess figure knows and understands the mysteries. They know what others don't know. But it's not in words, it's not in conscious thought, it's in the unconscious. You already know that this person is not helping what you want to move forward, that they're potentially not safe for you. You really need to let yourself know what you know. I love that the luck card is getting mirrored again too, the clover, 8 of Wands. And really when we look at the past, because I'm going to keep the tarot similar to the structure of the Lenormand, although it free flows a little bit more. In the past, yes, this was a great piece of luck, this job, this collaboration, this project that came to you. We have the 8 of Wands, we have the 4 of Wands, which is a celebration, and we have the 8 of Coins, which is getting down to work. This was a lucky situation in the past, and that's potentially why you're confused, that it's shifted. But we look in the now. In the central card here, we have the Ace of Coins. There's something you really want to build. There's something you really want to work. That's why you came into this situation. The thing about aces is they remain in the potential realm. You have to make them happen. And this being in the central card here, this tells me that you don't quite have all the pieces yet to make it happen. But given that you have clover in the Lenormand spread, given that you have this incredible amount of energy in this 8 of Wands, this house is sold. This is a done deal. You know inside you, you have the power. Not only do you have the power, but if this is a passion project or a creative project or even a job in the realm of something you would like to pursue, you are the high priestess. You don't know your own value. And I think that's why this person is able to kind of drain you of your essential energy. I really feel like they're using you. There really is someone I really would like you away from. I don't tend to use these very pop culture terms, but energy vampire would not be amiss here. I also see that in the now column. Have you been arguing with this person? Have there been conflict, differences of opinion? So getting back to the advice here, the Lenormand really spoke about getting into your wider community of trusted people, having them reflect to you what this relationship, either work or something more, can they reflect to you the quality of the relationship that they see? Do they feel that you are safe? Have they heard anything that you haven't? But ultimately, the tarot goes back to just you. I'm going to say you're finding a way to move on. You just can't extricate yourself this exact moment. And like I've said before, eclipse season is about digging into your shadow. Mercury retrograde is about rethinking, reevaluating, reflecting on the circumstances of your life and how to best move forward. It is not the moment right now to change everything. It's the moment to gather data. But the tarot is saying more to me. You really need to dig into you. So here we have one of my favorite cards in the deck. We have the 2 of Wands. This person, this drummer on this stage being adored, they have their own direction. They know exactly where they're going. And everyone around them is enjoying it. In fact, the whole world is their oyster. They could move on easily from where they are. They just need to allow themselves to know how powerful they are. They just need to get in touch. So I feel this toxic situation, this draining situation, this person who might be sucking on your energy, they've left you without the energy to even connect to yourself. So how can you connect to yourself? So there's talking to others, but after that, there's spending time with yourself, really getting clear inside. Why am I in this situation? What was it I originally wanted to get out of it? How can I pursue that on my own? The 2 of Wands isn't about 2 people moving on together. It's about one. You have a craft to pursue. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but you do have the clover. Once you actually know inside that you can do these things on your own, if you move away from any kind of toxic person or environment that you're working in right now, once you know that you have what it takes inside, once you remember your direction because you're not being confused by other people's needs and asks, the way forward will become clear and the timing will reveal itself. So to sum up, right now we are in the smack dab middle of eclipse season. There is a full moon eclipse next week. Come back for tarot readings then, and we'll probably look deeper into ways to help. But the moment now is not to move. The moment now is to meditate, is to connect to yourself, is to remember your passions, is to notice that what you're doing now is not actually helping you forward. It's draining your resources away. Think about moving on. Get passionate about moving on, and the way will reveal itself in a beautiful synchronicity. I hope to see you next week. Hello everybody, and welcome to reading 3. This is your half moon check-in. Now, normally for the half moon check-ins, I've been doing only Lenormand cards, and I've been doing a deeper dive on the topics that came up from the tarot readings from the last new and full moon, where I take you into nature so that we can enjoy a really healing environment and get into the emotional matters of a new or full moon. But as it would have it, this is halfway through eclipse season, which is about surprises and shocks and beginnings and endings and shadowy times. And what happened? All of the audio of my readings sucked last week because girl versus wind, wind wins. Now last week, yes, that was a complete and total tragedy, and I had to mourn it. But what it's done for this week's readings, it's allowed me to come up with an even more creative idea, which is to show you how I mesh Lenormand cards with tarot cards to give the most spectacular, most juicy, most helpful reading ever. And I do this when I read for people. And that's because Lenormand as a tool and tarot as a tool are different. Lenormand gives very concrete answers about the external actions that you take in order to help yourself in a situation, whereas tarot is really juicy about getting into the emotional, physical, mental, spiritual conundrums that we all get into that block our way or help us. Interestingly, for this eclipse season, all 3 readings have touched on money, jobs, and career. Your reading in particular is about long-term career goals. So the question I shaped for you is, how can you up-level your career trajectory? Now, if you've been watching these Lenormand readings, you'll know that the Lenormand deck works in a more structured way than tarot. I've chosen 9-card Lenormand squares for these readings. So we start with the U card, and your energy is lilies. Lilies is all about the long term. Now, in the case of career, Lily is talking about taking stock of your achievements versus the skills you think you need so that you can make a plan to build on for moving forward over the long term. You want to scale your career. So how can you go about that smartly? The next card that we look at in a 9-card square is the central card, and here you have ship. This really does speak to a larger theme about the entire reading put together. The advice it's telling you is be enterprising. Put yourself out there. What do you need to do to fake it till you make it? Now, I'm not seeing a lot of cards about faking it here, but because the main advice is expansion and be enterprising, this could be new to you. And I have a feeling the tarot might tell us more about what is it inside of you that needs to grow your ability to reach out. The next major themes of a Lenormand reading come from the 2 diagonals. Sometimes they just mirror each other with the same message, sometimes they add detail. I've left the diagonals out here so you can follow along clearly with me. The first diagonal is lilies plus ship plus scythe. In this deck, it's shears. Interestingly, I'm going to call this line, get off your butt. This line tells me that productivity shows up through a sudden expansion, through sudden explorations, or potentially even a physical trip. In this case, diagonal 2, letter plus ship plus bat. So let's explain that for a minute. So there are cards that represent you and significant others in the Lenormand deck. They tend to be very gendered. man and woman. I don't love that. So they had some extra cards in this deck. Some of them are not people, and I chose bat for you. And maybe you can tell me in the comments why your energy seemed like a really cute bat to me. Ooh, I know. Let's get all poetic on this. It's eclipse season. Eclipse is about digging into your shadows. Bats use sonar in the dark. I think you're feeling your way. I think you're way more adept. They are the most amazing hunters in the dark that you can find. I'm going to say you are going to hunt out new sales, new jobs, new possibilities, new horizons. No problem in this eclipse season. So back to the second diagonal theme. We have letter, which is all about documents and news. Ship plus you. News from abroad. I think if you expand your horizons, you are going to get a proposal all about you. The next great thing about a Lenormand 9-card square is the time series. Column 1 is the past, the middle column is now, and the final column is soon. Let's look at the past context of this situation. So we have Lily. I'm going to add in the bear card, and then we have you. Interestingly, the bear card, all about upper management, leadership, authority, and this is by conventional means. I think you've been working hard in some discipline, and it's the right discipline for you because it came out as the long-term Lily card, which is very much a career card. Have you been offered a promotion? Or you're seeking a promotion? I have a feeling, though, even if you were offered something at your current work, you need to move beyond it because of ship, because of the need to expand. Ultimately, though, you should be your own boss. You should run the show. If you're not doing that at your current workplace, that's what you need to seek. Heading into the now column, we're going to add Fox, which is the salaried job card. And Garden, very much networking, public relations, communications. You need to expand and explore new markets. So, like I said, I think you've been a specialist, but I'm getting a message here that you need to niche down. You need to specialize even more in some new market. And because it's a new market, you can be your own boss in that market. Physically, mentally, online, you need to seek out new markets. Now we move to the final column, which is near future. So that tells us a lot more about the best advice to answer the question and what might happen. So, how can you up-level your career trajectory? New markets and expansion, being your own boss. And now we have letter plus clover plus scythe. Again, letter is neutral. It's about all kinds of news and communications and offers. Clover is some luck, some synchronicity. Scythe is quick. I have a feeling that the tarot is going to speak about how can you prepare your nervous system to jump on an opportunity. Because if you're not already seeking out new markets and exploring physically and mentally out there in the world, as soon as you do, you're going to get a proposal that you're going to have to jump on. So will you be ready? So now the fun part. Let's layer on the tarot. I really love how the tarot and the Lenormand cards will mirror each other in their own languages. So here I'm like, you're going to have a really fast opportunity. You better be prepared for it. Check out this guy. This is the Knight of Wands, but the Knight of Wands in this particular deck is the most enthusiastic motorcycler you've ever met in your life. This person is charging down the road. They're having the best time of their life. It's almost like they're going at light speed. So this card being here in this final position, you have it in you to be the Knight of Wands. You have it in you to charge ahead. But what's interesting is the rest of the cards here have a much quieter vibe than this outcome card. So what is it going to take for you to hop on that motorcycle? What's it going to take for you to be this badass? Actually, what's hilarious is there's some people in the back. Some are cheering you on, some are shocked. And because we got the Death card right in the middle of this spread, So for you to actually expand, you really need something to come to an end inside. Eclipse season, the shadowy season twice a year, Mercury retrograde that's coming up February 25th to March 20th. This is the perfect time for you to go inside and really recognize what has ended or is ending. When the death card's there, I think it's already ended, but it's not necessarily processed. Another thing I want to point out that I think is very interesting in this spread is that the energy that is you is not matching up. So underneath we had lilies, which is very much about a long-term career professional, an expert. And instead what's coming up is the Six of Coins, Six of Pentacles. Now, that's interesting because in this particular deck, the Six of Coins speaks to, are you in the position of being a beggar, or are you in the position of the person who's able to give, who's abundant? This card always tells me that there's some ambivalence there, because sometimes we're the person who needs to be begging to receive, and sometimes we're the person who is handing out money. And then if you're the person handing it out, do you respect the people you're giving to? And if you're asking for help, do you respect yourself? The vibe I'm getting, actually, and this is completely an intuitive hit, is that the place you're coming from, the place you're already working, the place you need to expand within or outside of for the long-term growth of your career. I'm not sure you respected the management. I think you don't want to model yourselves after them. So it's not to say that it's particularly a problem where you are. You've been able to be a leader there, but I think you've outgrown the decisions you can make, the authority that you can wield. And you're really tired of having to justify your position. You feel like they're not just giving you the respect you deserve for the knowledge you have. And that I can feel a death about. That's not the easiest situation. It does mean you have to throw yourself out of the nest. But I see very good things for you the minute that you do. So, from now until March 20th, sit with those feelings. I'm not saying you need to disrespect anybody, but I would like you to see how you are actually penned in where you are. You have to actually see that you can't grow there anymore. I also think, again, that the expansion that you're doing, it's definitely a new market because it's got such different vibes from where you are. There's something more heart-centered about the types of endeavors, the markets you would like to expand into. Here we have the Queen of Cups, who is a very intuitive person, but in this deck, she's actually helping somebody. This is the new market that you're looking for. If you expand into this market, you could really be helping people. Another interesting thing that I'm going to point out is that everybody in this row is an elder. I don't know if that means that your market is an older market. There's something about an older market, a less fast-paced market, something where you really develop relationships with your clients more than you've ever done before. I think you actually have mediation skills. I mean, in this column, I would say some of you are in some kind of caring profession, either psychology, coaching. I would even say one-on-one coaching. So could you become a consultant? You need to be in the leadership position, but I am getting vibes here that you need to maybe work more one-on-one with people, less in groups, or in addition to working in groups in whatever work that you do. Now that's for some of you. And I can understand now that that's what the networking might be about. But I think if you head out there and you network and you make more contacts, you're going to draw in these people right away. And this is going to be a long term for you. Look at all the money being showered here. This is a legacy card here. We have the 10 of cups, 10 of coins. But what's interesting is you really are going from an apprentice because you go from the page of coins to the 10 of coins. So you're already an expert, but in this expansion, expect to feel some wobbly legs because this is new for you. But man, it's going to excite you. It's going to fire you up and it's going to work. All you have to do is take the steps. So I think that you're still in the next month, grieving what's ended and finding the courage to move forward. Perhaps this month you're even looking for that new way to be a consultant one-on-one, or for some new markets, or for some adjacent things that you can do to your current work where you really are the boss. You are your own boss. But in the near future, I would say probably as of March 20th, when Mercury goes direct and we have the spring equinox, it's going to be systems go. So it's good to rest now, but get prepared. Get prepared for putting out a lot of energy. Get prepared for receiving a lot. Really, your reading is saying all systems go. So I hope that helps, and I hope I see you next week for the full moon eclipse tarot reading. Take care.